Okay, great. Thanks, Nicole. Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Keyshawn. I'm a member of the SD 350 board and the JEDI team. That stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. We have an inspiring presentation for you this evening, and we're going to be highlighting Black History Month by taking a look at some of the lessons of the Civil Rights Movement and discuss some ways in which it influences movements that we're seeing today, including the movement for Black lives and the climate justice movement. We also want to highlight a few, actually, if you could go back one slide, thanks. We also want to highlight a few Black leaders in our community who are doing important work. So the first half of what we'll be presenting to you will be a presentation followed by a game and breakout discussions. And we really want you to feel inspired by the contributions to social movements that Black leaders have exemplified and think about how we can use it today to build a strong multiracial, multi-ethnic, and anti-racist climate movement. And then the second half of the presentation will be featuring some local Black leaders. So you can go on now. Thanks, Alex. Okay, so to begin, let's take a look at some parallels between the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s and the very present current movement for Black lives. So much of the past has inspired and influenced the movement for Black lives that many of us especially saw in 2020. So we're clearly not the first to draw parallels between civil rights era and the action that we've seen from 2013 to 2020. So our hope here is not so much to inform you, but to build upon what you already have observed yourselves and highlight it from a more community organizing lens. So the areas of focus will be tactics, strategies, and goals, and then we'll take a deeper dive into two of those key strategies. Okay, so to start with an example that's pretty eye-catching here, in the civil rights movement, the strategy of sit-ins really inspires what we have seen more recently with die-ins in the movements for Black lives and climate justice. And actually in the photo on the left, you can see one of SD 350's own die-ins. We've used die-ins as a tactic to draw attention to how deadly the climate crisis is. And these direct action tactics are really designed to attract media attention and make onlookers really uncomfortable and curious, and so uncomfortable that they feel an urgency to learn more and take action. So this is one tactic that has been very effective. You can go on. Okay. In addition to sit-ins and die-ins, here's just a sampling of more parallels, some of which you've probably already noticed or thought of yourselves, and this list is definitely not comprehensive. And you'll see that even in the areas where the two movements differ, they have a lot in common. So just take a glance there. And another tactic the movements have in common is really heavy use of media to highlight the situation. Of course, we have different forms now versus then. During the civil rights era, it was mostly TV and newspaper. And today we're seeing people more creatively wield the power of social media. So next, I will pass the mic to Rachel and Rebecca, who will briefly highlight a few of these tactics and strategies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. So as Kim just went over the strategies and tactics, I now want to do a strategy focus on power building. And I would like to focus on the Black Panther Party, which has been known as one of the most powerful power building movements in Black history. So the Black Panther Party and the Black Power movements began in Oakland, California in 1966 and was created by college students Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. It can be seen in the different initiatives that this party created, that they had this advanced understanding of intersectionality and how different systems of oppression overlap and specifically affect the Black community. This understanding manifested in the Black Panther Party's community work that they did. So if you look to the picture to your left, actually, that is their free breakfast program, that originally began to combat food justice, which we all know is an aspect of climate justice. And in the beginning, it started as like a normal community program that was just based out of an Oakland church. But in the years 1967, it had become a national program that fed around 20,000 kids. And that's just absolutely that they were able to start so small and make their way up that big. So they understood that in order to liberate your community, you must combat food and educational injustice as well. in this example of the food program, as alongside their 10-point program and their other community initiatives, really highlighted that overall racial and environmental justice was necessary for Black liberation. So aside from the amazing power building that they had done directly for the Black American community and the African diaspora, the Black Panther Party actually supported and stood in solidarity with a plethora of other ethnic communities and their movements. A perfect example of this is the Rainbow Coalition. That was started in 1969 by Fred Hampton, who was the leader of the Chicago Black Panther Party chapter. This Rainbow Coalition actually contained the Black Panther Party, which represented Black Americans. It had the Young Lords, which was a Puerto Rican group. It had the Young Patriots and Students for a Democratic Society, which represented the white American community as well. And this coalition worked so well because they organized themselves in a model in which the respective groups organized their communities, but remained in alliance to each other. So they strategized to build self-determined communities of color that work alongside their white allies who actually took the responsibility of combating white racism and ending white supremacist systems. So this amazing work that happened in the 60s is actually the beginning of the coalition politics that we know today. So now I'm gonna pass it over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Rachel. Rebecca here. I'm also on the board of San Diego 350, and I'm part of the member engagement team and the JEDI team. Another key strategy of the civil rights movement that I'd like to focus on is voter mobilization. At the time, the South had pervasive voter suppression laws. With voter mobilization, more citizens could support progressive candidates, progressive state laws and policy. It was definitely a way of gaining power. This involved tireless work from organizers who went from door to door canvassing, putting together voter drives, and educating citizens. The work of the civil rights movement led to a key piece of legislation, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was actually dealt a severe blow by the Supreme Court in 2013, striking a key provision as unconstitutional. So the need to further fight voter suppression laws continues today. And if you can recall, next slide, please. I'm sure everybody here is probably aware and heard of Stacey Abrams, but voter mobilization continues to be an issue today, and many of you are familiar what happened in Georgia. For the first time since 1992, Georgia voted for a Democratic president. How did the tide turn? Well, Stacey Abrams and other organizers are credited as the folks on the ground that turned Georgia blue this year by a slim margin. Stacey Abrams, as many of you know, is an American politician, lawyer, businesswoman, and importantly, a tireless and unrelenting organizer who spent several years, I think 10 years or more, educating and registering voters, fighting voter suppression laws in Georgia. She and a group of people demonstrated how voter mobilization could have a huge impact. And you can also see how voter mobilization was also important across other states in the country where Biden and Kamala Harris won by slim margins, and other states like Arizona due to the indigenous vote, Nevada, where Latinx groups voted in large enough margins for Biden and Harris to win. Similarly, in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, a Biden-Harris win was secured in part due to Black, Indigenous, and other communities of color voting in high percentages for Biden and Harris. Next slide, please. Okay, so looking at future voter mobilization, why is this important, and why should supporting voter mobilization be a worthwhile strategy for the climate justice movement? Well, we certainly need more policies and laws that address climate change, and we also need more representatives in power who have the moral courage to stand against the fossil fuel industry. We see that right-leaning candidates have become synonymous with climate change denialists and the need for advocates for environmental action and racist policies are crucial. And here I have some lists of things that we can potentially do, which is support Black organizing and multiracial organizing in people of color communities, mobilize and support youth voters and organizers. We can also see how fighting for democracy and anti-racist policies intersects with our fight for climate justice. Supporting the Voting Rights Act and fighting against disenfranchisement of Black voters is a pro-climate strategy. So I hope that we can continue to learn important lessons from the civil rights movement and find ways to adapt tactics and strategies for our fight to build a climate justice movement. To wrap this section up, Rachel has set up a short game for us.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. So I invite you all to type into your device, www.menti.com. We have a quick quiz. So there's going to be 2 rounds. The first round is going to be 3 questions, and the second round is going to be 2. So I believe someone is going to put the code in the chat. Awesome. So if we can get a thumbs up for when everyone is in the quiz, that would be awesome. All right, I got 1 thumb. Cool. Okay.
I think it's the wrong one. Do we have enough people in there? It keeps saying quiz is not open.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what the code is. Maybe I missed it. I have to enter a code.
Chat, it's 873-4642.
Okay.
Okay.
So were other people able to get in?
It should be activated.
Can we have a few people just chime in the chat if it was working?
It's working.
Okay, so you have to make sure you include the spaces. Is this the first question that you're seeing, Colleen?
Says I did. Now it's
Mine says I didn't vote in time, so I didn't see the question. I guess wasn't looking.
Let's see if we can re-download it or restart it. Okay. Did it let you redo the question?
No, it just went right back to you didn't vote in time.
Okay. So I'll ask the question out loud. Which parallel between the civil rights movement is most inspiring to you for climate justice? And you can type it in the chat if you weren't able to vote. So there's economic tactics, there's power building, sit-ins and die-ins, and there's voter mobilization. Awesome. I'm seeing power building, voter mobilization, economic tactics, sit-ins. Awesome. Cool. All right. So is everyone ready for the next question? Awesome. Okay. Should be. Oh, okay. It's showing us early. My apologies. There we go. All right. In what ways did the Black Panther Party address true climate justice?
I get in the quiz now, Rachel. So
You got it in the you were able to get.
yeah, I couldn't do the first one because
Me
it's
too.
voting
Okay.
time.
Good.
Right.
Thank you for letting me know, Susan.
Sure.
Cool. All right. So I see a lot of all of the above. I see, oh, it's almost even for food justice, environmental justice, and economic justice. Awesome. I mean, they did all of them. So I think if you chose any answer, it's the correct answer. So awesome. Okay. Okay. Our next question for this round is, what goals of the past are still relevant to climate justice today? Okay. Let me get a thumbs up when everyone's ready. Cool. All right. Yeah, we're seeing lots of all of the aboves: economic justice, voting, social justice, education, Black liberation. Cool. All right. And if you weren't able to get into the quiz, just put it in the chat. Okay. Awesome. Are we ready to go to our second round? Okay. So our second code is 5121257, and it should be in the chat as well. Okay. I'll wait till more people join. Okay. All right, we're going to start on the first question. All right. Since the 2013 Supreme Court determined a key part of the Voting Rights Act unconstitutional, which voter suppression laws and practices have occurred? So there's passage of stricter voter ID laws, voter purges at a significantly higher rate, reducing the early voting period, all of the above, and there were no negative consequences.
Rachel, it looks like some people are having problems getting in. Oh, wait, hold on. It looks like Kim's giving some advice.
Okay.
If anyone has trouble, just try refreshing the screen.
Let's set that.
Okay. Cool. All right. Awesome. So I see a lot of all of the above. I see some for reducing early voting periods and passage of stricter voter ID laws. Cool. All right. And for our last question. Oh, okay. Awesome. Great job, everyone. And now we can go on to, sorry, I must have counted the questions wrong. We can go on to the next part of our presentation. Okay. So in the very beginning, we explained that we really wanted to highlight a lot of local activists in the area, but I think we all decided that this was one activist, though not local to California, was still very important to highlight, especially because of their youth and the impact that they've had on the environmental movement. So she is a contemporary activist in the US, and I'm really excited to introduce Marie Copeny. Marie, also known as Little Miss Flint Copeny, is a 13-year-old climate activist based in Flint, Michigan. So her advocacy began in 2015 during the Flint water crisis. I feel as though this group, a lot of us know a lot about Flint, but just in case you don't, Flint was a majority, or not was, it is still here. It's a majority Black and lower income community in Michigan that was subjected to climate injustice. So they had lead poisoning going through their water source. So a lot of the residents got long lasting health effects. A lot of the kids, I believe, have like neurological diseases and things of that nature within this new generation of kids that have been growing up with this water. So it's just a very tragic situation, but Marie was very young when this first started. So for her to be this old teen and doing all this work, it's amazing that she's already gone on this path so early, and I'm excited to see what work she continues to do in the future. So from her time starting as an activist, she has now raised over $500,000 for the Flint Kids Project. She has raised 16,000 backpacks with school supplies, and she does yearly holiday events, so like Christmas drives, like Valentine's Day, like just anything that can bring joy to the kids of the area. And she's really awesome and gives away a lot of toys and other things that can bring these kids joy. She also has been able to raise about $250,000 for clean water and has given away over 1 million bottles of bottled water. It said it on her website that she is the most happy with her ability to, or not her ability, her new project in focusing on pivoting away from single-use bottled water. And she now partners with the company Hydroviv to produce her own water filter so that she can make that change. To date, she has raised over $400 to produce these filters. So I'm really excited to see what work she continues to do in the climate justice movement.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I am a member of the JEDI team and the public policy team. And so I want to introduce you all, and hopefully some of you know her, to Sonia Robinson. She's actually a longtime member of San Diego 350, and she has worked for a long time as a clean energy organizer with Green Power, which is a member of the San Diego Community Choice Alliance, which is a coalition of organizations and businesses supporting community choice energy. And there she was involved in developing strategies to increase awareness about community choice energy programs that have publicly run alternatives to existing utility providers. And she's continued to focus on energy democracy and now serves as the chair of the steering committee for an advocacy group called Public Power San Diego. And so in 2019, she became the first ever chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee of the NAACP of San Diego and the North San Diego County chapter. In her time as chair, she's helped to realize many climate justice efforts, including lobbying legislative bills, opposing electric bill increases by SDG&E. She's worked to protect solar customers on a national initiative. And that only is just a very short list of all of her work. She was actually recognized, so the NAACP Environmental and Climate Justice Committee was recognized recently by the group Climate Action Campaign with the Unsung Hero Award in 2020. Sonia also hosts an internet talk radio show called Sun or Sustainable Urban Network that addresses environmental and climate justice. The programs often address issues of sustainability's intersections with race, social, economic justice, and equity for urban communities to help improve quality of life. And so that program airs on GOD Radio 1, and it is also available to watch on YouTube.
Hi, my name's Cameron. I'm an intern with San Diego 350. Today I'm going to be talking about Sister Maria Muhammad. She's a Baltimore native. Sister Maria created multiple community initiatives to address injustice. She is the co-founder of I Am Green and So Are You. It's a nonprofit organization founded with her husband, Brother David, that works to reconnect our people back to the planet and to each other. Through her organization, I Am Green, Sister Maria curates and hosts a wonderful 8-hour intensive program in which community members and activists alike can become climate ambassadors.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and I'm with the member engagement team. And today I'll be talking to you all about Ron Finley. So Ron Finley grew up in South Central Los Angeles, which is an area known for its food prisons, or what's commonly also known as food apartheids. And that speaks to the structural racism that creates lack of healthy, nourishing food within communities. And so that kind of began his food access activism in 2010 as he planted in parkways. And parkways are those grass or like dirt medians that are between the sidewalk and the road. And he really wanted to create food forests there. So using that land to create food that would then nourish his community and begin to bring in that healthy food that was currently so hard to access. But instead, he got cited by the city of Los Angeles for gardening on county property without a permit, and then he began a petition. And that petition gained the attention of hundreds of people who decided to join in and join his movement. So now Ron has created the Ron Finley Project, which seeks to create urban gardens and then restore communities access to food and their self-reliance through agriculture. So he's really combating and giving voice to a larger movement that provides nourishment, empowerment, education, and healthy and hopeful futures, one urban garden at a time. And you all will be getting a copy of these slides, and he gave a really inspiring TED Talk in 2013 I'd encourage you to listen to. And now I'll turn it over to Nicole.
Thanks, Maddie. So I'm really excited to celebrate Marcus Busch and their leadership in our community. So Marcus Busch was actually elected to the National City Council in 2020 and is the first Afro-Latino to serve as a council member in National City. Marcus Busch grew up in National City and attended Sweetwater High School. Marcus then went on to attend SDSU, where he double majored in city planning and Spanish. As an SDSU student, Marcus Busch spent several years working with Unite Here, a warehouse worker union, where he worked to improve working conditions for fellow workers. In 2011, Councilmember Busch was appointed to the Civil Service Commission. In 2013, Marcus Busch was appointed to the Planning Commission. And in 2015, Marcus Busch became the youngest person to serve as Planning Commission chair for the council at only age 26. He also served on the board of directors for the National City Chamber of Commerce and president of the National City Rotary Club. In 2018, Councilmember Busch earned his master's degree in real estate development from Portland State University's Graduate School of Business, making him the first person in his family to get a master's degree. He has also worked as a policy advisor on land use and transportation issues for Council President Georgette Gomez in the city of San Diego. Marcus Busch is focused on addressing the housing and homelessness crisis, environmental health and climate change, and supporting small businesses with increased access to high quality jobs for residents. Councilmember Busch is currently a project manager for MAC Project, a nonprofit that works on developing affordable housing. And Marcus Busch was recently elected to the Air Pollution Control Board for the county. We are incredibly inspired by the work that Councilmember Busch has done and continues to do for his community. So now that we've gotten an opportunity to hear about these wonderful people